You have won $100, not a windfall, not a bonus, not an inheritance from someone you barely knew. $100, the amount that disappears in a weekend without you noticing. The amount that feels too small to matter and too tight to spare, and somehow both of those things at once. And you are about to find out what happens when you stop letting it disappear every month without fail for the rest of your working life. This is not a story about getting rich quick. This is the story of what $100 a month actually becomes, every number, every year, every psychological shift along the way, and why the person who starts today with almost nothing ends up somewhere most people who earn twice as much never reach. Here's what you do on day one, not next month, not when you have more. Today, you open a Roth IRA if you have earned income this year. This is a tax advantage retirement account where your money grows completely tax free, and every dollar you withdraw in retirement costs you nothing in taxes. If you are employed and your company offers a 401k with an employer match, you contribute at least enough to capture the full match first. That is free money, and nothing you will ever do in investing beats a 100% instant return. Then you open the Roth IRA. You fund it with $100. You invest that $100 in a single total market index fund, a fund that owns tiny pieces of thousands of companies across the entire economy with an expense ratio below 0.1%. You set up an automatic transfer for the same day every month. You do not pick stocks. You do not research sectors. You do not wait for the market to dip. You click confirm. The account shows $100. The market moves slightly, and your $100 becomes $99.70. You check it 3 times before bed. This is the beginning, and it looks nothing like what you imagined. That is correct. Keep going. 6 months in, you have contributed $600. The account reads $634. The market cooperated slightly, and you gain $34 beyond what you put in. $34 is not a number that changes your life. It is not a number you tell people about. It is a number that exists quietly in an app. You check less than you used to because the checking stopped producing any feeling worth seeking. This is the part nobody talks about because there is nothing to talk about. The first 6 months of investing $100 a month is not a story, it is a habit. And habits, before they produce results, produce only themselves. You are building the muscle of consistency in a gym where the mirrors do not show progress yet. There is a version of you that stops here, not dramatically, not with a decision to quit, just a month, where the transfer does not happen because things were tight. Then another month, then the account sits untouched and you stop logging in, and then a year passes and the habit is gone, and the $634 is still there, earning almost nothing because you never stayed long enough for it to work. This version of you is not lazy. This version of you is human. The gap between knowing what to do and continuing to do it when nothing visible is rewarding you is where most people quietly exit. You do not exit. You do not know yet what that decision is worth, but you will. 12 months in, you have contributed $1,200. The account reads $1,312. The market cooperated moderately, and you gained $112 beyond what you put in. $112. You could have earned that in an afternoon of overtime. It is not impressive, and you are smart enough to know that and disciplined enough to stay anyway. Here's what actually happened in year one that the balance does not show. You built a relationship with delayed gratification that most people your age have not built. Every month you had $100 that could have been a dinner out, and it became a contribution instead. Not because you are better than the person who bought the dinner, because you made a specific decision about a specific $100 and you kept making it. That decision repeated 12 times is the foundation, not the $1,312. You also learned something about yourself this year that most people never test. Your life did not deteriorate without the $100. The month did not collapse. The things you thought you needed that $100 for mostly did not materialize, and when they did, you found the money somewhere else. The $100 was never actually load bearing in your monthly budget. It just felt like it was. Most people never test that feeling. You tested it 12 times and it was wrong 12 times. That discovery is worth more than $112 in market returns. Now let us talk about what is actually happening inside your account, because understanding the mechanics is what keeps you in the game when the market drops and everyone around you is panicking. When you buy an index fund, you are not betting on one company. You are buying a slice of the entire economy. When Apple goes up and GE goes down, your fund barely moves because you own thousands of companies and they balance each other. When the whole market drops, and it will drop, it always does, you are not losing money permanently. You are buying the same companies at a discount. The investor who understands this keeps transferring $100 every month during a crash. The investor who does not understand this sells at the bottom, locks in the loss, and misses the recovery. Here is the historical reality. The S&P 500 has never had a 20-year period with a negative return. Not through the Great Depression, not through 2008, not through any crash in modern financial history. Every single 20-year window has been positive. Your $100 a month does not need luck. It does not need perfect timing. It needs time. Time is the only input that is completely within your control and completely free, and the one thing most people waste while they wait for everything else to be perfect first. 26 months in, you have contributed $2,600. The account reads $3,100. Something shifts in year two. The checking happens less out of anxiety and more out of curiosity. You stop monitoring for disaster and start watching for growth. That is a psychological transition that takes most people longer than it took you, and some people never make it. The investor who checks their account from fear and the investor who checks from curiosity are holding the same fund. They are not having the same experience. They will not make the same decisions when the market drops. The market drops. Of course it does. It drops 14% over 11 weeks. You watch $380 evaporate. The account that read $3,100 reads $2,670. You feel it in a specific place that is not quite your stomach and not quite your chest. You sit with it. You do not sell. You transfer the $100 on schedule because the schedule does not negotiate with market conditions. That $100 buys more shares than it did 3 months ago because the prices are lower. You do not celebrate this. You just continue. When the market recovers 8 months later, your account is at $3,900. The shares you bought during the drop are now worth more than you paid for them. The discipline of the down months compounded quietly. It does this every time. You will forget this every time. The forgetting is fine as long as the behavior does not change. Year 3 ends. You have contributed $3,600. The account reads $4,750. You are up $1,150 beyond your contributions. The compounding is beginning to show up as a real number, not dramatic, real. The gap between what you put in and what you have is widening in your favor, and it will continue to widen, and it will do so faster and faster. At some point, the returns stop feeling like a bonus and start feeling like a second contributor, like someone else is also putting money in your account every month alongside you. That someone is time. Time is the only investor who never misses a contribution, never panics, and never sells at the bottom. Now, here is where most people make the mistake that costs them the most. They see $4,750 and they think about what they could do with it. A trip, a car repair, a deposit on something, they withdraw it. And the compounding clock resets to zero. The money you invest in your 20s is not just worth what it is today. It is worth what it becomes over the next 30 to 40 years of compounding. Every $1,000 you withdraw from an index fund at age 28 is not $1,000 gone. At 7% real return, it is $14,000 gone by the time you are 68. The account is not a savings account you dip into when life gets expensive. It is a compounding engine, and every withdrawal is pulling fuel out of running engine. Leave it alone. Keep feeding it. Adjust your monthly budget everywhere else first. You are 29. 60 months of $100. Total contributions $6,000. Account balance $8,200 at the historical average annual return of 10%. You have $2,200 more than you put in. You have more money in invested assets than most people your age have in any savings at all. Not because you earn more than them, not because you had advantages they did not, because you started a specific habit at a specific time and maintained it through 12 months of nothing visible, and a market correction that followed personal, and a period in year 4 where you genuinely considered pausing and did not. Here's what $8,200 is not. It is not retirement. It is not financial freedom. People will tell you $8,200 is nothing in the context of long-term wealth, and they will be technically correct and completely wrong about what it means. Because $8,200 is not the number. $8,200 is the proof. The proof that you can build something from almost nothing over a sustained period of time without a windfall, without a high income, without a perfect plan. The proof that the machine works if you feed it. The proof that you are the kind of person who feeds the machine. That identity is worth more than $8,200. The identity is what carries forward. Now, what happens when your income grows and you can invest more? This is where your trajectory changes from slow and steady to genuinely significant. You are not locked into $100 forever. That was the starting point. The rule is simple. Every time your income increases, you direct a minimum 50% of the increase into investments before it touches your lifestyle. Your salary goes from $45,000 to $55,000. That is $833 more per month. At least $416 goes straight into the brokerage before you adjust a single spending habit. Your lifestyle gets a raise. Your future gets a bigger raise. If you increase your monthly investment from $100 to $300 at age 29, just $200 more, the 40-year outcome changes from $637,000 to over $1.9 million at the same historical return. Not triple the investment. Triple the monthly amount produces triple the outcome because the compounding multiplies everything equally. The habit you built on $100 is the foundation. Every dollar you add to it does not just add linearly, it compounds on top of everything that came before it. The machine you spent 5 years building is now ready to accept more fuel. Give it more whenever you can. The time to do it is always now, never later, because later costs you compounding that you can never buy back. You are 34, 120 months. Total contributions $12,000. Account balance approximately $20,500. You have $8,500 more than you put in. In the last year alone, your portfolio returned roughly $1,700 without a single additional dollar of effort from you. Not from a race, not from a side hustle, from the shares you bought over 10 years compounding into each other. This is the part they try to explain in books and podcasts and financial planning sessions, and it never quite lands until you see it in your own account with your own money. The returns are now contributing at a rate approaching your monthly deposit. You put in $100. The market in an average year is returning the equivalent of $140 a month on your existing balance. Your money is making money, not at a life-changing pace yet, at a noticeable pace, at a pace that is accelerating, and something else is different at 34. Your relationship with money has permanently changed. You track where it goes. You understand the difference between spending that produces something and spending that produces only the moment. You went on the trip and you bought the thing. You just did it inside a structure that preserved the $100 because the $100 became non-negotiable, not a sacrifice, a personality trait. There is a quiet separation that begins to open between you and people in your life who are not building anything, not because you are better, because your priorities are different in a way that shows up in small decisions every day. And small decisions accumulate into a different kind of life. You are 44, 2 decades in. Total contributions $24,000. Account balance approximately $76,000. You have $52,000 more than you contributed, more than double your total investment sitting in the account that you never earned at a job, never won, never received. You built it by doing one small thing every month for 20 years and not stopping. At 44, with $76,000 compounding at 10% annually, your account generates roughly $7,600 this year without you touching the principal. $7,600 a year from $100 a month. You put in $1,200 a year and the account adds $7,600. The machine has become the primary contributor. You are almost a passenger at this point, and the journey started with a transfer on a Tuesday evening in an apartment you have since moved out of. Here is what year 20 teaches you that no book can. The acceleration is just beginning. In year 1, the market returned $112 total. In year 10, it returned approximately $1,700 in a single year. In year 20, it returns $7,600 in a single year. The curve is not linear, it is exponential, and the exponential part is only now becoming fully visible. The people who quit in year 2 quit just before the part where it starts working properly. The people who made it to year 20 cannot imagine quitting now because quitting at year 20 means walking away from a machine that is generating the equivalent of a part-time salary from money you saved $100 at a time. You're 54. Total contributions $36,000. Account balance approximately $227,000. Over 30 years, consistency and compound interest produce $191,000 that you never deposited, never earned at a job, and never won. At 54, with $227,000 in a portfolio, earning an average of 10% your account generates roughly $22,700 annually without touching the principal. That is nearly $1,900 a month from money that started as $100. The machine you built with pocket change is now producing income that approaches what many people earn working, and there are still 10 years until traditional retirement age. You are 64. Total contributions $48,000 across 40 years of $100 monthly deposits. Account balance at the historically average return $637,000. $637,000 from $48,000. The difference, $589,000, United was not earned. It grew by time and by your refusal to stop. By the 480 small decisions you made every month when the $100 could have gone somewhere else and instead went here. Every month felt like nothing. Every month felt too small to matter. Every correction you did not sell through. Every year that passed without drama or visible progress. Every Tuesday transfer that nobody congratulated you for. All of it stacked, all of it compounding, all of it here. Here's the number that reframes everything. The person who waited until they had $1,000 a month to start investing, who spent their 20s and early 30s saying, I will start when I have more, and then finally started at 40 with $1,000 a month and invested it faithfully until 64. Their balance at 64 with the same 10% historical return, approximately $976,000. More money than you, but here is what they paid for the extra $339,000. They invested $288,000 of their own money versus your $48,000. They contributed 6 times more of their own dollars to end up with 1.5 times more in the account. You contributed $48,000 and the machine added $589,000. They contributed $288,000 and the machine added $688,000. The machine rewarded them for the money. It rewarded you for the time, and time, it turns out, was the cheaper input by a factor that should change every decision you make about when to start. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today, not next month. Not when you have more, not when it feels like the amount is finally worth starting with. Today, $100. The machine is ready. The only question left is whether you are going to make the transfer or spend the next 10 years explaining to yourself why you were going to.